Hey everybody, welcome back to In My Head channel. My name is Brent and we're back with another video today. I've got Carla with me. I pointed in the right direction. I've got Carla with me on this one. Carla, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm just trying to get through this winter. I know we were just talking about weather and you're telling me it's 38 degrees and you're over it, and I have 8 degrees right now and I've got a ton of snow. So, I'm hoping to get to 38 soon. That would be nice.
I thought it was funny. I didn't ask you what your temperature was, but when I was like, "Oh, it's 38 here. I can't st-" and you're like 38.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a spring. That's a spring
yeah,
day for us. We'll
yeah.
get that in about a month or 2.
Yeah. Well, it's so awesome to have you back in this video. This video is entirely Carla's idea. We were talking, and it's been done before, but as you know what the title is, you clicked on it. But this is our dream set list. So in this video, we're going to talk about no rules. I'll get into the setup after the intro video plays, but we're going to talk about no rules except for 20 songs and 3 encores, 23 songs total. It's a typical Kiss set. What would your dream set list be? We'll get into it right after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Boise, Idaho. Don't touch anything!
So before we get started, I do want to give a shout out to my Patreon subscribers. I actually picked up a new Patreon subscriber this week, Jeremy Kimona. Jeremy is a longtime fan of the show. You've probably heard his name many times if you were part of the channel whenever we did the track versus track. Jeremy put his tracks in, and Carla did a lot of those track versus tracks with me. And God, we did several. We did a whole bunch of videos together, Carla. I can't even remember all of them that we done. But so we got Jeremy Kimona and then John Steinheimer, who's been with me for a very long time, the lead singer of Voice of Doom, and Rex Smetzer, who's been a long time fan of the show. I think he may be one of the early people. He may be almost from the very beginning. So I do appreciate you guys. What they get for this is they've already got a post saying, "Hey, I am filming this. This is what I'm doing this week." And right after I record this, they're going to get the raw, unedited version of this just given to them 4 or 5 days early because we're recording this on a Monday. They're going to get the unedited version of this like almost immediately. It'll probably be in their Patreon inbox tomorrow. So do thank you to my Patreons and for supporting the channel. That helps me keep purchasing things like lights and pay for subscription to StreamYard and editing, and that does cost, so it helps. You can also support the channel by purchasing some merch. I've got some buttons here. I actually have these buttons in hand, and I can send these out, or you can order them from the T Public or whatever it's called. I keep forgetting the name of it, but it's right below this video. You can get shirts. You can get all kinds of stuff. You can get this logo and a couple other logos. The inverted logo, the 80s out logo. You can get all that at the store. Second thing I wanted to cover is before we get into it is there is for people who like getting shirts in stores. There is a new shirt at Belk's. I got this from Belk's, new Kiss shirt. And the only thing that I don't like about it is you got Eric over here, then Gene, then Paul, then Tommy. But they've got under here, they've got Catman, Spaceman, Demon. It's like some of these should have been reversed. But hey, we got us a new shirt. And speaking of new stuff, doing a current news thing real quick. I posted on my Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, it's Instagram is In My Head channel, and my Twitter's In My Head channel, and my YouTube's In My Head channel. But they are teasing that there is going to be a Strutter release, like a gold, and release, and it looks to me like it's going to be a plaque. And to me, I know those plaques have typically gone for like 200 and up. We don't really, I don't really know what it is, what it's going to be. They're teasing us, of course. I was talking with some of my people in some of the chats I'm in on Instagram, and I was saying by the wordings of the blurbs, it sounds pricey. It's
Yeah.
like it sounds pricey. And from what I understand, this was some of the stuff that was supposed to have been done last year. So since I've already had a discussion, and Carla, I'd like your thoughts on this too. Kiss has it's been revealed. Universal and Pop House has revealed that they're getting ready to release. They're going to release 2 box sets this year, and everybody's speculating. And I just not even looked at the debut. I'm like, because the debut, the 50th is past. That's last year. To me, maybe it's going to be Alive because Alive's the 50th and it deserves one. And then there's some other ones that have some like it's Dressed to Kill's 50th. It deserves one. And then there's like Animalize, not Animalize. Is it Animalize? Might be Animalize, but I know it's Asylum. So Asylum has a 45th-ish anniversary, or it might be 35th. Can't remember. I know some of the people that know all these release dates are yelling at their screens right now. I know that Unmasked is a 45th, and so Asylum may be a 40th. But would Asylum get a box set? But with this release, so I've been speculating that it's possibly either Dressed to Kill and Alive, because they come, Dressed to Kill's like March and Alive's later on in the year. But now with the release of this, I think that this gold album thing that they're doing for Strutter, which wasn't actually technically released as a single, which that don't make no sense. So if they're going to do something like that, do you think that it's a possibility that one of the box sets is the first album?
I hope so. I mean, that would make sense. I mean, I understand them not doing a box set for Asylum or some of like the albums of that period, but I just feel like, again, without the debut album, you have none of these other releases, right? So to me, it would make sense that at some point they've got to put a box set together. I don't know what would be in it, but I feel like they should be doing something for it.
Do you feel like Alive is the obvious second choice, like the second box set?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because that you could have a lot of fun with little, you could have like in the box set a ticket, a fake ticket of like how much the show would have cost back then, and just like a ticket, like an actual, and like a little lanyard, like an all access pass, like just things like that. Like you could definitely have fun making a box set out of Alive, and like the debut album, they really should have one for Alive as well. So to me, that makes sense.
That's actually a cool idea. I didn't think about that. Having a remake of a ticket stub from Cobo Hall one of the nights. That would be really cool. Getting to see Kiss in Cobo Hall for like $5.
Yeah, and they could, if they even wanted to make it an even bigger money grab, I mean, they could even like have tickets from different cities, like have some from Detroit, have some from New York, whatever, and then it just forces people to buy more box sets to collect all the tickets, right?
Don't give them no ideas now. And they're rebranding the website. The website's supposed to get rebranded in March because it's not really been updated since the middle of December. So there's that. And supposedly Pop House has a lot of merch that they've been working on and getting ready to put on the new website whenever it launches, and they'll probably have the things that they'll do along with the box sets and the off the soundboards. And the off the soundboards are going to be redesigned on the packaging, I believe they said, and they're going to focus on specific eras. Like different box sets are going to focus on different eras. So that makes me wonder, are these box sets, or not box sets, but off the soundboards? So the off the soundboards focusing on specific eras, does that now mean that an off the soundboard is not going to be a complete show. It's going to be like a hodgepodge of like a certain amount of songs from this show off the Asylum tour,
Mhm.
and some songs from this show or these shows from the Animalized tour, or from the Crazy Nights tour, from the Hot in the Shade tour. So like, I kind of think of Kiss as, I define Kiss in several eras. A lot of people don't agree with me on this, but I kind of define Kiss as like from 73 to 79, well, Unmasked. Let's say you'd have to go through the Elder, so the makeup era, but Eric Carr joined in there, and so some people say, well, the makeup era, and then you have that'd also be Vinnie Vincent too with Creatures. Then you have the non-makeup era that begins with Lick It Up, and it kind of runs through when Kiss put the makeup back on. And even though there were several people in and out of the band, Bruce was in and out of the band, Eric Singer was in and out of the band, Tommy was in the band, and then there is when they put the makeup back on with Tommy and Eric. So it just makes me wonder: are they going to release full shows like they did before, or are they now going to be a collection of songs from concerts in different cities with in certain eras? What do you think? Do you have a thought?
Don't have a lot of thoughts on it other than, I mean, I could see it going both ways. It might be easier for them to just do a little compilation, in terms of getting it out there, getting it released. Might be
Mhm.
easier for them to just pull from different shows and things like that. So I think it just depends on how much of a priority they're setting up for these. If this is a huge priority for them, they'll put more time into it. If they're more concerned with like box sets and merch, this is going to be like we'll kind of get to it when we get to it thing. So
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
see.
I like the idea that they're redoing the packaging, because not trying to give them any ideas, but what I'd like to see is if they're going to be releasing multiple uh if they're going to be releasing multiple off the soundboards, not box sets, off the soundboards. If like the covers, either the front cover or the back cover, or maybe even the gate folds, you
Mm,
open them up and they make a larger picture. And
yeah,
that way you have to buy them all, and because they
that would be
want you to
cool.
buy them all,
Of
so
course.
that way you have to buy them all.
Yeah.
And who knows, they might even take a page out of Ace's book like he did with 10,000 volts, and have multiple different color pressings, have different covers, have exclusive covers. Um, so who knows what they will do.
Yeah,
Um,
I like Kiss. Ace does it. I've
mhm.
bought Ace's record store day vinyls before, and I wish Kiss would get into record store day. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a licensing issue or they just don't care issue or they just want to keep it all in house. I don't know why, but I just wish they'd get into it a little bit. I think that would be nice because then again, you'd have some more exclusive releases that route too. So
Mhm. I definitely wish that Kiss would get into I've always wished that Kiss would get into Record Store Day for 2 reasons. One, it would help drive foot traffic to record stores, to support these record stores. Not many of them are left, and the ones that are left, we need to protect at all costs.
mhm.
And so it would drive people to go to record stores. Eric's family has done it. His sister and his family has done it with his record store day releases. Ace has done it with his record store day releases. Um, I don't understand why Kiss doesn't do it, because they they already press some of the special stuff in limited numbers anyway. So if they press just a certain amount for record store day, and then send them out to the record stores when whatever they order, whatever they can get, you usually cannot buy record store day releases online. You have to go down to a record store, get in line, and it would just kind of create that throwback to the way things used to be, where you
Mhm.
you didn't do everything online. You went down and stood in line to buy your concert tickets, or you went down and stood in line. I've stood in line many times to buy concert tickets, to buy albums at midnight, to buy albums when the day that they went on sale, standing outside the mall or standing outside the record store. And I think it'd be really cool that if Universal and Pop House would do something like that, and it would be something that the scalper, you're still going to have people that's going to try to scalp that stuff up. You still see people that go into places and try to buy every copy that they have, um, or but it would make it, at least it'd make it more difficult for them. They couldn't get bots to do it. They'd have to actually do the footwork and do it themselves. So I would think it
Right.
would be really cool if they would do something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Last thing I want to talk about before we get into our list and talk about our dream set list is our good buddy Rick sent me a package, and I'd sent him a care package back during Christmas. He has already highlighted some of the stuff in his channel. Some of the stuff he's not highlighted yet. He's holding on to it for other videos. But I sent him a puzzle, and he talked about the puzzle, and then he talked about how he appreciated getting it because it was Dynasty. And when I saw it, when I knew I was buying me one, I bought one for him too, because I'm like, well, if I'm buying me one, I'm buying Rick one. Uh, and it's a 500 piece puzzle. And he talked about in his video how he's not the biggest puzzle person because he just doesn't have the patience to put it together. I am that one of the things I'm doing is I am for a channel a video I'm working on for the channel is I'm putting together that 500 piece puzzle and kind of time lapsing it.
That's
And
cool.
while I'm going to time lapse it, I'm going to kind of talk over that and talk about Dynasty. And I forgot how many pieces there are in a 500 piece puzzle and how little they are and how it takes 7 to 8 hours to put a 500 piece puzzle together.
Yeah.
I was thinking an hour or two I'd be done. No, no. It took me almost an hour just to sort out all the pieces.
Right. All the
So
gray and the black. Yeah.
yes, yes. So but I'm going to be doing that. That might take that a little bit of time to come, but he in return, I sent an envelope to him for him to send me all the back issues of the wax pack. And
Mm.
so this happened during the big storm that was going on, and plus he was out of printer ink for a little bit, and so he printed up some and he's sending them to me. But this here, from what I believe, is I also won a contest on his channel where I won some 3D printed merch. So I wanted to open this on here because I try to open up stuff in every one of my videos or show off something that I got. And if I can do this without stabbing myself in the chest, um, and I want to show this off because I do appreciate this, Rick. I appreciate being included in the contest and being picked a winner. That's awesome. I need to get a new knife up here. My kiss knife is very dull. All right, and he packaged it up really good. So here we go. See what we got in here. So first item, he sent me a card. Very awesome. And it says on the back, thanks for watching. Congrats. That's awesome. Rick, Pee Wee, and Pee Wee, Rick, and Strutter. And then he sent me these are coasters from what I understand. He gave away some coaster sets. And here is the first. That's awesome.
That's really
so
cool.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always needing coasters. And I don't even think I have any coasters up here. So it's that same thing inverted.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And let's see. I think it's a 4-pack. Packs come up so well, Rick. It's a 3-pack. Oh, no, it's a 4-pack. This is a round Kiss Army.
Oh.
Awesome. And A keychain. Very cool. Thank you so
Very
much.
cool.
Thank you so much, Rick. I really appreciate that. And I hope that you are continuing to enjoy the other things I've sent you that have not made it to a video yet. But I know that he is. I just know whenever I saw the things that I sent him, every one of them was like, Rick, Rick, Rick. All right. So this is what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about, this is the setup for this. I saw a thing where the ABBA hologram show is now, people are starting to see it, and they're blown away by how real it looks. And they're like, is this real life? I know this isn't real, but it looks real. And so that made me think, Kiss has the Avatar show coming out in a few years, and about 2 years from now. I put my own little fantasy world spin on this. So what if this is the premise for being able to pick any song that you want from, we didn't set any rules. The only rules was 20 songs, 23 total. And you could choose from any era, any album. It could be a demo. It could be off a compilation. It could be a solo album. You had no rules when it come to that. We didn't set any rules for that. You could say, well, I want to hear I want to hear The Elder played front to back. And if that's what you wanted, and that's what you could choose.
Smaller venue for that, but yeah.
So small venue. But the premise behind this was to be able to have any member, alive or dead, you're making this set list you're going to go into the arena or into the auditorium, and you're going to watch a Avatar show, and not avatars as the way Kiss showed them in their final show, but avatars if it's a show from the Popcorn Club, or if it's a show of whatever from the first tour, they would be in the stage would change to that tour. The costumes would change. The members would change. So if you picked a song off that would get played on the Alive 2 tour, you would have the Alive 2 stage, Alive 2 costumes, Alive 2 members, so on and so forth. Hot in the Shade, same thing. There'd be the Spinks. It'd be the band in their costumes, no makeup. Bruce, Eric, Gene, and Paul. So, having said that, since this is total fantasy, it leaves us open to pick whatever we wanted to pick. So, since Carla is the guest, I asked her ahead of time. I'm like, did you come up with kind of a theme or a way that you did something that you want to talk about before we get started, so the people kind of maybe know the vein that you're going to go in with your list? And she said yes. So I kind of I have to do that with mine. I have to preface that with mine, because otherwise you guys would be going, what are you doing? This makes no sense. So I had to kind of preface mine with, hey, this is what I was doing. So since you're the guest, Carla, I'll let you go first. Don't say your first track yet, but what's your idea behind the way that you did your set list?
So my show is it's a little bit more simple than that. I mean, mine's just Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter the whole time. So
Okay.
if Ace and Peter aren't on a song, they needed to learn it for my concert, because that's just how it is. There's no change. Like, I don't even have makeup, changes. They can just be in their makeup the whole time, even if it's a non-makeup song. But yeah, just the original four: Ace, Peter, Gene, Paul, the whole time. Most of my set list is random, so it really can go in any order. There are a few songs that I wanted in a specific spot, and when I get to that, I'll say like why I wanted that in a specific spot. But other than that, my set list is totally interchangeable. It can go the first song, or the third song can be the fifth song. It doesn't matter.
Okay. So you almost went with a reunion tour approach, because there
Yes.
are songs that they played on the reunion tour that Ace and Peter had to learn.
Right, right.
Okay, that's awesome. So I didn't even think about that. See, that's awesome. Um, what I did was I was like, okay, um, Kiss has 20 albums, and I have 20 songs that I can choose from, and three uh, encores.
Mhm.
So what I did was I wanted to try to represent a song from every album, from all the studio albums, not the solo albums, not live albums, not compilation albums, but studio albums, starting with the first album and ending with Monster.
Mm.
Um, I will say I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. I was not able to pick a song off Monster that I wanted to represent. It ain't that it ain't that the songs are bad. It's just if I was sitting and I was like, okay, this is my last shot. This is my last song. Is there a song that I want off this album above this other one that I've got in my head, which means I'm going to pull two songs off this album? It was real difficult not to pull more than my original list was 60 songs
Mhm.
because I was just going down through the albums and being like, I'd love to see that, love to see that, love to see that, love to have seen it. And I had like something like 60 something songs. I'm like, okay, now I got to cut this to a third. So I started looking at it. I'm like, there's 20 songs, there's 20 albums. I got to knock this down to an average of one song off of each album. And then I can pick maybe three songs that maybe come off an album that I've already picked the song off before to be the encore.
Mhm.
So that is mine. Mine are also in no particular order. Uh, the only thing I'd say on mine that is in particular order are the encores. I did
Mhm.
stick the encores. The encores could have been, they were chosen off albums, so they could have been up in the set list. But I put three, if like, okay, finish me out. What three songs do I want to see to finish this out? I've heard a song off every album. What songs do I want to finish? And so
Mhm.
that's the way I structured my encore. The rest of my set list is actually just going in chronological order from the first album down.
Very cool.
All right, so I'll let you start. And you don't have to have a reason for every song why you picked it, but if you do, be I don't want this out. I don't want this video to be 4 hours long, but I don't
Yeah.
want us to. I don't want us to. I don't want us to not have content for the sake of time.
Right, right.
So go ahead and start with your first and whatever you want to say about it.
Okay, so my first one is again, this is one that I have to have at number one. And the reason for that is because I had to think about where I would be seeing this concert. And more than likely, I would be seeing it in Detroit. So because of that, I felt like the opener would have to be Detroit Rock City. So that's my number one. That's my opener. And that has to stay there at number one.
Okay. So let me catch the visual on this since you're doing a very band centered show with the four originals and now you're in Detroit. You have a setting. What are your costumes and what is your stage? Are you with the Love Gun costumes? What stage and what costumes are you viewing them in?
I think Destroyer. I think that was what I was thinking
Hmm.
for them. And again, it's just going to be the same throughout, no changes. And with Detroit Rock City, because I was even trying to think, well, would I see them outside or inside? Because in Detroit, you have both options.
Hmm.
But either way, there's going to be a lot of lights and flashy things, and just a lot of flash. So
Right.
it just for me, it would have to be Detroit Rock City as an opener at a Detroit show. Just makes the
Right.
most sense.
And it would be really cool to see that Destroyer stage actually faithfully recreated because
Yes.
it's one of those stages that was so imaginative and they put so much into, but yet there there's not hardly any good footage of it or any good photos of it. And I don't understand that. I mean, we've got overkill of the Alive 2 stage and every stage after that. But that Destroyer stage, um, we don't have a whole lot of footage for that. It'd be cool to see that
Hmm.
faithfully recreated.
Yeah.
Okay. So my first song is there are a lot of openers. So my first song comes off the first album. And there are some good openers on the first album. There is Deuce is on the first album. And when I first started doing this, my opening song was Deuce off the first album. And I had about 4 songs off the first album because I'm a huge fan of that album. And then I started looking, and once I got done, I was like, man, I've got to cut some songs. And so I had to cut my pick from the first album from about 4 songs down to 1.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I looked at the 4 songs and I'm like, which one is my obvious choice of the song I want to see, regardless of if it's an opener or not, regardless of whether it's been played or not, was the song that I would want to see one last time from the opening album. And it's to me, it's got to be Firehouse.
Yeah.
It had to be Firehouse for me. So Firehouse is my first track. Second track for you.
Second track for me, I don't even know if you'll like this because I know you probably would want some variety. But I'm gonna go with another Destroyer song. I tried not to do this. I really didn't want to stack albums up against each other. I really even didn't want to stack singers up against each other. But it just kind of sometimes it just had to happen. So my second choice, and again, this could really go in any order, but my second choice is God of Thunder. I just think that would be so cool live. So good. So that's my second choice.
All right. My second choice, I went on to the next album, Hotter Than Hell, and I looked at that and I was like, what is the one single song that I would like to see performed off that album? And it had to be Parasite. Parasite is one of those songs that I feel that it criminally did not get enough love. And it is such an awesome song. It is classic. It's a cult classic. It's a fan favorite. So to see Parasite from Hotter Than Hell era, outfits, Hotter Than Hell era stage, the little bitty stage that's barely 6 feet deep, and Peter on his drum riser that was lifted up by a forklift. Those humble beginnings of that. So, like I said, mine is like in between songs, the virtual arena would go dark, and when the song started, it would come up and it'd be an entirely different stage, entirely different band, entirely different costumes. Just like I was being transported through time, like I'm in a virtual time machine. So it'd be Parasite for me, number 2.
It'll be really interesting to see what songs we have that are the same. Very interesting. My number 3, this could really go anywhere. I love this song, and you never hear it. I mean, you hear it, but it's not one you hear on the radio. But I just think it'd be really cool to hear live, especially that bass. So for me, my number 3 is Sure Know Something off of Dynasty.
Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love the bass line on that. So you hit Dynasty. I'm trying to see what all albums you do represent. Because I have a representation off of every album except for one, studio album except for one, band studio album. Number 3, I had to move on. I moved on to Dress to Kill, and like I said, these are only in order because it's only in this order because it's the albums in albums order chronologically. I looked at that album and I love Dress to Kill. There's a lot of great songs on there. But what song would I want to see? I got to get She. She is the song off that album that I would have to see, that spookiness of that album and those costumes. And like I said, once again, seeing Kiss in, like I said, since this is my fantasy and I can do anything, I'm not looking at old Gene singing this song. I'm looking at young Gene with the makeup, the bat wings that don't go very far down. I'm looking at, that's just what I'm visualizing. So,
Yeah.
So my third song would be She.
Yeah. My number 4, again, I wanted to make sure I wanted to make sure you hear my dog. I wanted to make sure you heard Peter, Ace, Gene, and Paul all sing throughout this whole concert. So my number 4 is Cold Gin. However, I want Ace singing it. I don't want Gene singing it. I want Ace singing it. So that's my number 4.
Right. Your rules. There you go. So we move on to, for me, we move on to Mr. Speed. We move on to Rock and Roll Over, and I just gave my song away, Mr. Speed. Never, and it's funny how we really approached this differently. I didn't care who was singing. To me, it was about the song and about the environment. I might not even have a Peter song on here. I don't know. I don't, but because we're getting to the point where I'm either going to have a Peter song or I don't. But I don't know. I was looking at it in a way of, okay, what would I want to see? But Mr. Speed is one of those songs. It's another song that I feel it's a cult favorite. It's a fan favorite. It's one of those songs that doesn't get enough love. It didn't get hardly any love from the band, and it's one of their best songs. So I would love to see Paul from Rock and Roll Over era come out and just start that riff on the guitar. I'd go nuts if I could see that in person. So for me, it was my number 4 is Mr. Speed.
My number 5, it's jumping really far ahead into their discography. Again, this is one that Peter and Ace were not on, so they need to learn it. But my number 5, for me, a concert it's an experience, and I love when you go to a concert and they play a song and the whole audience sings with the band. Like, I love those moments. And so for me, my number 5, that kind of happens here with Crazy Crazy Nights. I can just imagine hearing the whole audience sing together with Paul, and I just think that'd be a really cool moment. So that is my number 5.
That would have been cool to see Ace and Peter play Crazy Nights. That's awesome.
Mhm.
This is the one album that I made the exception on because I was like, okay, I've got to get 2 songs off of this album because there's another song on here that's probably in my top 5, definitely top 10 of favorite Kiss songs. And so from Rock and Roll Over, I had to also have the band play Making Love. And I saw the band play Making Love on the third from the last show, and I appreciated it, but no, I want 1976 Kiss playing rock and roll, playing Making Love with that intensity that you hear on Kiss Alive 2.
Mhm.
So Making Love for me is my 5th track.
For me, number 6, this is where we get to hear Peter sing. And I wanted a Peter song, and I couldn't think of, I had to kind of think of all of Peter's songs and then kind of go from there. Which one would I want to hear out of all of them? And again, this could go anywhere in the set list. But I put it at number 6, and it would, I just think it's a great Peter song. Again, great for the whole audience to be a part of. So I chose Hard Luck Woman, and at number 7. Not my favorite Peter song, but just one that I think would be really, really good to hear at a concert.
Okay. What number are you on? Are you on 6 or 7?
That was my 6.
That was your 6. Okay. All right, cool. So my number 6 comes off of Love Gun. And if you know me, you know what my song has to be off Love Gun. It's the first vocal we get from Mr. Ace Frehley. Shock Me. I would have to see Ace sing Shock Me with the smoking guitar, maybe put a little guitar solo at the end of it. Maybe not too long of a guitar solo, about Alive 2 length of the Alive 2 guitar solo. I can say what I want. The Alive 2 guitar solo with the smoking guitar for Shock Me, my number 6.
Very cool. That was one that was on like my first draft of set list, and I had to narrow it down, and that one didn't make the final cut, but that was definitely one I was thinking of. But speaking of Ace, my number 7 off of Unmasked is Talk to Me, my favorite song off that album. One of my favorite Ace songs. I love it. I love his vocal on that song. So for me, it would be a song that I would love to hear in concert. I know I'll never hear it in concert, but I would love to hear it in concert. So for me, it's at number 7, but it could go anywhere in the set list as long as I hear it. That's all I care about.
My number 7, jumping forward to Dynasty. My number 7 is from, I love Dynasty. This was hard. There's a lot of good songs on Dynasty, but I was like, okay, which one would I like to see? And I would love to see Gene sing Charisma from
Mm,
Dynasty. That would just be awesome in the Super Kiss outfits and that Dynasty stage. That was my first show. So it'd be like, that would truly like be going back in time to being 10-year-old little Brant. Um, very first time Gene flew and on the first tour he flew on and flew up into the rafters. It'd be cool to see him fly up into the rafters and instead of singing God of Thunder, he sing Charisma.
mhm.
That'd be
Very
a
cool.
cool song for me.
Yeah. My number 8, this is where we match. My number 8, I like how you were saying, I just want to see the visual of Gene singing this. I just think it'd be so cool. Is She off Dress to Kill? I want like the lights low. I want to see, him being like super creepy on the stage, just
Mhm.
really getting into it. That is like what I want to see when I see or when I hear this song live. So for me, number 8 is She.
All right. My next song comes off of Unmasked, and this is I love Unmasked. It's bubblegum. It's so great. I don't like every song equally on it. There's some I like more than others, but I initially had Shandy down for this. I
Mhm.
had Shandy and this other song chose, and then it came down to it, and I'm like, oh, I got to cut one. Which one do I want to see? And I ended up axing Shandy and left Tomorrow from uh, uh, Unmasked. Tomorrow is a great song. It's another one of those songs that is just so good that does
Mhm.
not get enough love.
Mhm.
I also had, I think, She's So European on my first draft. I love that
I love
song. It's
that song.
one of my favorite Gene songs.
Yeah.
Um, so Unmasked itself just does not get enough love. We need to do an Unmasked episode together sometime. It just does not get enough love. So yeah, so to me though, I'd have to see Tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think Unmasked is just
I
so
want to see
underrated.
I want to see Paul whenever it comes out of the first chorus and you hear that little slide whistle thing. I want to see Paul pick one up and go, you know, and then
That would
toss
you
it to the side.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. My number 9, again, another one that you had mentioned earlier, one of my favorites. It's such a heavy song. You could release it today and it would sound great. Off of Hotter Than Hell, I have to go with Parasite for
Hmm.
number 9.
Yep, great song. Um, Now that moves me to the next album, which was The Elder. And believe it or not, I had a very hard time choosing which song I wanted to hear off The Elder. I had several picked. I had Dark Light picked. I had um, uh, Only You picked. I even had Just a Boy picked. The fanfare. This is where the orchestra would be in the background and the fanfare going into Just a Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love The Elder. I can't say enough about it. But I was like, okay, so what song is it? And I had to go back to Gene for The Elder for Under the Rose. That big choir, just that big virtual choir appear behind them. And I could see them in the robes with the things up over the choir with the things up over their head, like Kiss had in the Phantom, and you can't see their faces. And but yeah, Under the Rose would have been really cool to
It
see.
would have.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I love The Elder. Like, ugh,
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Number 10 for me, again, this is another one that Peter and Ace are going to have to learn. This one, now that I'm looking at my set list, I probably could have taken it off and put something else on, but it's on the set list, so it is what it is. For my number 10 off Animalize, I chose Heaven's on Fire.
It's great. That's a fun song live. I've
Mhm.
seen that song. I think I saw the Animalize tour maybe 2 or 3 times. And it's on Animalize Uncensored, and it's just a fun song. And back with the energy they had back in the '80s, Paul jumping around all over the stage, barely playing his guitar. That's such a fun song.
Yeah.
Um, so my number 10 moved on to Creatures, and I thought I was going to kill myself over trying to pick a song off this album. I could only pick one, And so I was sitting here, and of course, everybody's like, what song would you have picked? But I sat and I looked at it and I looked at it. I picked my songs. And I think I had like more than half of the album picked. And I was like, I sitting and looking at it and looking at it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with the dark horse, one that I don't think you'd ever see live unless I was virtually requesting it. So I went with Gene, Saint, and Sinner
Ooh.
for Alpha Creatures for me. I love the swagger of that song. I love that and the do 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 and the beat that Eric plays in that. Plus now I've got Eric on stage,
Mhm.
and in my mind, since I didn't know this was Ace not playing on this album, Ace is still on stage, just like he is in the "I Love It Loud" video, in the lightning strike thing, like he would have been for the Elder. So I've got Ace for one more album, and had to say goodbye to Peter, and so now I'm getting ready to have to say goodbye to Ace. So, but yeah, I would have Saint and Sinner would be my number 10.
For me, my number 11 also comes off of Creatures. I went a little bit more just single based off of this one. Again, it could go anywhere in my set list. It doesn't matter. But for me, my number 11, I put "I Love It Loud." I love that song, and just hearing that opening drum, that boom, boom, boom. Like, I
Yep.
just think that'd be great to hear live, and I just like the crowd would just, get all
Yeah.
into it. So
Yep.
for me, that's my number 11 is "I Love It Loud."
Okay. So my number 12, I'm moving on to Animalize. And the Animalize although it's a lot of filler, it was real hard for me to pick one, but after debating over it for a little bit, my number 12 ended up being Under the Gun. High energy, a lot of moving, a little fast playing. Now we've got, Mark St. John out there, and no, is it Mark St. John? Did I? No, wait a minute. I need to back up. Back up. Back up. Moving on to, let's see. You just did your number 10, right?
I just did my number 11. So
Okay,
what
your
would be
number
your
11. So it's my 11. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, here we go. Take two. All right, so for my number 11, we're moving on to Lick It Up. And Lick It Up was one of those albums that was really difficult to pick a song off of. I was looking at everything from Exciter to I Still Love You. And so I was just like, man, I don't know what I want to pick off of this one. So what I decided on is a Gene song, Bring the Lights Down. And I know the makeup's off and everybody's on stage. But to me, it had to be Not for the Innocent. Just a demon song in the unmasked era. Not for the Innocent for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I also, for some reason, Lick It Up, that album, I wanted to put a lot of songs on that album in my set list. And I mean, you can't really see it, but
Mhm.
I have some down here that I had to like take off at the last second. They like didn't make the cut like right at the last second. But yeah, for some reason, that album, I had a hard time picking songs.
It's got so many good songs. It's
It
it's very
does.
it's very there's a reason it's the album that helped them come back.
Yeah,
It's got so many good songs on it. It was hard to pick just one.
I agree. So moving on to number 12. This one, I don't know. I just wanted to put it on there. It is off Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. And I love it. It's such a cheesy song, but I absolutely love it. So my number 12, again, it could go anywhere in the set list though, or almost anywhere. But my number 12 is Let's Put the X in Sex. It's such a cheesy song, but I absolutely love it. My husband and I even have like a little inside joke with that song. So for me, like if I was going to the concert with my husband, we would be laughing the whole time. Very quickly, if you want to know the inside joke, all it is whenever my husband and I, whenever we get a new TV, like a smart TV, whenever we get a new one for our house, that's the very first thing we do is we open up YouTube and we play that music video. I don't know why that is. I don't know when that started. I don't know why that tradition started for us, but it's just like new TV. We have to watch that music video. So
That's
I don't know.
awesome.
I don't know why that is, but it is. So that's my number 12.
That's so awesome.
Is it?
Yeah, that is awesome. That's it's cute and a little twisted, but it's awesome. So my number 12, moving on to Animalize, is which, even though Animalize has a little bit of filler on it, it was real easy to pick this one. Um, I want Paul come out and do Under the Gun, that just fast, furious, you know, driven song, running around on the stage, jumping all around. That's when I think of Paul in the '80s. That's what I think of. I think of frontman Paul, and
Yes.
barely playing his guitar, being all about to be in. He's like the equivalent of it, like a David Lee Roth. Just like
Mhm.
just an ideal frontman, '80s frontman. So, Under the Gun is my 12th.
For my number 13, again, I went with kind of a single for this just because I wanted to hear like the whole audience get really into the song. And I really had a hard time with it, but I just put it in there at number 13. Could go anywhere in my set list, but I did Lick It Up. Again, I would have liked to have had probably other songs off Lick It Up before Lick It Up, but um, ultimately that's what I went with. So my number 13 is Lick It Up.
Awesome. My number 13 comes off Asylum, and I remember the Asylum tour very well. I think I saw a couple times on the Asylum tour, and the Asylum album is a great album. It's one of those, an album that doesn't get enough love and mentioned enough. But for me, I guess I was just in a mood. So since we just came off of this song for Paul, it's like, okay, let's go back to Gene and let's bring it down and let's groove it. Let's get something groove going. And so I went with Any Way You Slice It.
Mm.
I love the opening line. I caught the tail of a hurricane, and this is '80s Gene and his full on sexual innuendo era, and I love it. I love it. The songs are so inappropriate for today, but Any Way You Slice It is one of my favorite songs off Asylum, and I'd love to see it. I would have loved to have seen it.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. So for number 14, so now I kind of figured out we're like kind of in the middle of the concert at this point, and something cool's got to happen. So what I did is again, because I have Ace, Peter, Paul, and Gene for the whole concert. So what I did is I kind of did like a little mix of all 4 of their solo albums. So I'm kind of cheating a little bit here. So instead of 1 song, I'm doing 4, but it's not the whole song. So it's just little bits of 1 song off of each solo album. So I have Peter's I Can't Stop the Rain. And then that, like, he'll do a little bit of that. And then that goes into Paul's Love in Chains. And then that he'll do a little bit. And then that goes into Gene's Burning Up with Fever. And then a little bit of that. And then that slides into Ace's New York Groove.
Okay.
So it's like a little melody of all 4 of them.
Yeah, I love melody mashup. Yep.
Yes. So it's a loophole because I got 4 songs.
Yeah.
But it's not the whole song.
The rules were loose. I mean,
yes. So it's just a little bit of each song that they would be doing live. So that is my number 14. And that has to stay there. I don't want that anywhere else on the set list.
Yep. I didn't think about that. Mr. Speed could have went into Making Love. All right. So next album for me is Crazy Nights. And so that's going to make I look at Crazy Nights, and Crazy Nights is one of those albums that I have such a shallow history with. I'd never really heard or listened to Crazy Nights as a whole until I started doing my channel coming up on 7 years ago, and I was going through doing reviews. And the first time I listened to Crazy Nights all the way through, the album itself all the way through, there were 2 or 3 songs off of it that I liked, and the rest that I knew there were songs I knew like Crazy Nights but there was most of the songs on it I wasn't a big fan of. It's grown on me, but one of the songs that I had not heard until I listened to the album is this song, and it was like one of those songs I was like, wow, I have missed this song all this time. Since I could have been listening to this song since mid 80s, and I missed it until recently. And that is so for my number 14, they've got to get into the really bright outfits that they would have still had on from Asylum, and they've got to do Turn on the Night. Turn on the Night. I would, love to have seen it. So yeah, so Turn on the Night is my 14.
My number 15 is one that nobody will like but me, and that's fine. And it's my concert.
I already know what it is.
And I want it here. I want it right after the little melody of all four of the solo albums, little snippet. So my number 15 off of Destroyer has got to be Great Expectations. And everybody else can leave. I'll just stay there and watch. I don't care.
That's a bathroom break for everybody else. I'd be there with you. I would stay there. I love Great Expectations. And now this is the Great Expectations, the best way they can perform it, or do they have the choir and all that stuff piped in too?
They can just have that pre-recorded if they want, and then just have the band. I don't need like.
Yeah, you don't need the choir coming out onto the stage, and I
don't need that.
That hits
just keep it simple.
Yeah. All right, I love that song. I'd stay there with you. But yeah, everybody else go to the bathroom. 15 for me. We move on to Hits, and oh my God, Hits has like 50 songs on it, and but there's one song when I was scanning down through, I was like, man, that'd be a cool song. That'd be a cool song. I got to one song, and I'm like, that would have to be the song that I'd want to hear. So off of Hot in the Shade, Eric Carr gets to sing Little Caesar. I love Little Caesar. Love that song. Would love to see that song performed. Love to have seen that song performed live. I don't even know if it ever was performed live, but if it was, I didn't see it. But so Little Caesar would have been my number 15.
Mm-hmm. And then for number 16, again, could go anywhere in the set list. I just think for me, Elder had to be covered in some way. I can't imagine it not being a part of my dream set list. I love that album. I love the lore of that album. I love the imagery. I love the artwork. I love the songs. I love what could have been. I love it all. So for me, the song that I thought would be best mixed in with my set list and for a concert would be The Oath. So that is my number 16.
Yeah. I almost chose the two songs that I ended up with for The Elder was The Oath and Under the Rose. And I was like, well, I've seen The Oath played on television show. I've seen I've seen that before. So that's why I was like, what have I not ever seen? So that's why I went with Under the Rose, but I was almost there with The Oath. All right. So my number 16, we're at Revenge, and this was tough. This was, I had so many songs off Revenge, everything off Revenge, Paul's songs, Gene's songs. But what I ended up with was I was like, looked at it and I looked at my list, and when I honed it down, like I did with everything, I looked at them and I'm like, which one sticks out like a sore thumb? And the one that stuck out for me off of Revenge was Paralyzed from Gene. Love that song. I think it's one of the songs off Revenge. Revenge gets a lot of love itself, but Paralyzed off Revenge does not get a whole lot of love. So I love that song. So that would have been my number 16.
Yeah, I had only one Revenge song on my set list, and I had to cut it. I really wanted that represented on my set list, but it just didn't make the cut, unfortunately. But what did make the cut for my number 17 is Love Gun. I want to hear Love Gun live. Do I need to? No. Do I want to? Yes. So that's my number 17.
Yep. Let's see. My number 17 would have come off of Carnival of Souls. Huge fan of that album as well. And I looked at it and there was like, man, there's so much that I would love to have off this album. And I ended up having to be like, okay, well, I got down to the 2 songs and I could not, it's another one of my exceptions. I could not find just one song that I wanted to pick off of this album. So I chose 2. The first one is the album opener, Hate. Hate off of Carnival of Souls is, to me, is one of the best Demon songs. It's one of the best Gene songs. Even though a lot of people don't care for Carnival of Souls and they don't care for the overall tone and the sound and the direction of that album, I can't help they're wrong. But but I love that song, and that song sets the tone for that whole album. So yeah, Hate would be my number 17.
My number 18, I'm looking at it now, and if I would have wrote this list 20 minutes ago, this would not have been on it. But when I made the list, apparently I was very into it, so I wanted it to be on the set list. But I do love it, but it doesn't need to be on there. Number 18, I Was Made for Loving You. It is a good song, and again, it'd be a great song to hear live with like the audience getting really into it. But I know that the band hates doing it live, so maybe I shouldn't have chosen that. It's too late. It's on there. So number 18, I Was Made for Loving You.
It's on there. You've said it. So there you go. My number 18, it stays coming off of Carnival. So if I am going to start, if my number 17 is going to start the album, my number 18 is going to finish it. And Mr. Bruce Kulick gets to step up to the mic and gets to perform I Walk Alone. One of my probably, I Walk Alone is in my top 5 favorite Kiss songs. And I talk to people and I tell people that, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm sorry. It's just, I love that song. And it's one of those songs that it just struck a chord with me the very first time I heard it. And it continues. I listen to that song weekly, probably a couple times weekly, because I listen to Carnival usually a couple times weekly. But I always make sure, a lot of times I will actually go to Hate. I'll let Hate play first. And then some, because since it's a rather lengthy album, I might not always make it to all the way through the songs going from point A to point B. So I will play Hate, and then I'll fast forward to I Walk Alone. I'll skip to it, and then I'll back up to the song. I'll back up to the song after Hate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I Walk Alone for me is my number 18.
I'm going to back up for a second because I read my number 18 wrong, which I didn't read it wrong. It is I Was Made for Loving You. But I noticed I made like a little asterisk here. The reason why I did that is because I was going to do a fan vote for number 18. So like a live, like the audience could choose at the concert which one they'd want to hear. And it was between I Was Made for Loving You and Fits Like a Glove. I'll Flick It Up. And then whichever one they chose, that was what they were going to play. I was wondering why I wrote it like that. Because I'm like, I don't think I would have chosen I Was Made for Loving You. So that's what it is. They could choose between that and Fits Like a Glove.
Okay.
So that's my number 18. Okay. My number 19, this is one that I would, oh my gosh, if this is like one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time, I would probably pass out if I heard this live, to be honest. But I would love to hear, like, I would love to see it in person, I should say, off of Alive 2. So yeah, off of Alive 2, it's Rocket Ride. Love to hear Rocket Ride. That's definitely on my set list. It has to be played. So that's
I totally missed that one because I kind of skipped over live albums, but that is a studio track on a live album. I missed that.
Right.
Yep. Rocket Ride would be awesome. That would have been awesome to see in those eras and that on the Live 2 stage would have been awesome.
Mhm.
Even on the Destroyer stage would have been awesome. So 19 to me brings me to Psycho Circus, and I like a lot of songs on Psycho Circus, but once again, after I picked and I knew that I had to just knock it down to when I decided I was just going to try to do just one song. The one that stood out to me is this is this is the song I'd want to see is the one with the longest stinking title, I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll. But for that to have such a long, wordy title, that is such a great song. It's probably one of the better songs off of that album. Paul's in full vigor on that that song, and it's the vibe of what being a Kiss fan is about. So, but yeah, so my number 19 would be "I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll."
So that brings us to number 20. So this is the
Mhm.
last song, before they get to the encores and all that.
Mhm.
This one, it has to go at number 20 for me. And you had mentioned it earlier, so it is another one that we have in common. It is one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. It's one of my favorite songs of all time, Kiss or not. Like, it's one of my favorite songs of all time. Absolutely love it. It puts a smile on my face every time I hear it. It's one of my like pump up songs, or if I just need to like be put in a good mood, then I'll put this song on because it just makes me feel better every single time I hear it. So for me, my number 20 is Turn on the Night from Crazy
Mm.
Nights. Favorite song off that album. One of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. One of my favorite just songs of all time. Absolutely love it. That would be my number 20.
It is hard to stay in a bad mood listening to Turn on the Night.
I
I've
know.
actually believe it could be prescribed as an antidepressant.
Yes. For
Because you
me,
could
it
be in a
definitely.
foul mood and somebody and put on Turn on the Night, and you can't stay in a bad mood
Mm-mm.
listen to Turn on the Night. You just can't.
If I could make out with a song, that's the song I would make out with.
If I could have a baby from a song, it'd be Turn on the Night. Uh, Turn on the Night is one of those songs. It just reminds me so much of my and it's one of those songs that I hate. Like I said, I hate that I missed it because when I hear it, I think of 80s
Mhm.
summer, riding around in your Pontiac Trans Am with the T-tops off, cruising, stopping by the Tasty Freeze and getting you a shake and a hot dog and cruising around and looking for girls, of course, in your case, looking for guys. And just that whole 80s summer vibe. It screams 80s montage in a video or something. It could have been a
Yes.
montage song in a movie. And I lived that life. I lived the stuff that you see in 80s movies. I lived that. That's when I was, 85, 86, 87, 88. I was 16, 17, 18, 19. I was just and this album would have been like right out of high school, going into college, and it was when I was doing some of my most serious summer partying. So it could have been a soundtrack for my summer, but I didn't discover this song till I was in my late 40s.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of sad, but yeah, I love Turn on the Night. You cannot stay depressed and listen to that song.
No.
Even though it wasn't a soundtrack song for me then, it makes me think of things I did.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I can imagine me riding around in my Trans Am, my red Trans Am, listening to Turn on the Night. I definitely would have. I don't know why. Like I said, I don't know why Crazy Nights. I know why, because I was chasing after bands like Guns N' Roses and Metallica and stuff like that. So I know why Crazy Nights kind of flew under the radar for me.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, all right. So final song on my before we get to the encores is off of Sonic Boom. I didn't choose a track off Monster. Sorry, Monster fans, but um, Sonic Boom, to me, the heaviest song, and like I said, when I go to Gene, I want either something very sexually inappropriate type of song because that's just how I am. That's what I grew up in. I grew up in the sexual inappropriateness time, the 70s and the 80s and early 90s. Um, or I want the demon.
Hmm.
And so off of Sonic Boom, one of the even all the way to Sonic Boom, one of the biggest demon songs that I can think of also is I'm an Animal. I love I'm an Animal. Just that opening riff, those opening drums. Ba-na-na, and that ba-na-na, boom, ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. That's a crazy riff. And Gene just sounds so great. That scream that he has at the end of it. Yeah, it's I'm an Animal is awesome. So that'd be a cool way for me to close my show and us sit there and be like, kiss, 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 we won't kiss. So they come back out. What is your first? And my encore, my three encore songs are specific in this order, and they're off of albums that I previously picked songs off of. But so are yours specific as well in a specific order?
Yes. So mine
Okay.
are, they have to go in that order. I mean, the first two, if they had to switch, they could, but I really would prefer them to be in this order. My first encore would be Shout It Out Now. I just think it's a great encore song.
Hmm.
And for me, I think that would be a good, like, they come back out, everyone's cheering, and then it just goes right into Shout It Out Now. I think would sound
Right.
really good. So that's my
Right.
first encore.
Okay. My first encore is off of Destroyer, and they come back out on the stage, and they hit us in the face with Detroit Rock City. Um, what I vision when I was visioning this, because I was visualizing this in my head, I was fantasizing about it, is we're saying we won't kiss, we won't kiss, we won't kiss. The lights come back up a little bit, and then you hear the tinkering in the sink, and you hear the radio.
Mhm.
Pontiac, Michigan youth was purported dead, da, 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 and it goes through the whole thing, that whole beginning. It goes through all that, and then you hear the na 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 na, and that's when
Mhm.
they come back up. So mine would have been with the actual intro from Destroyer appended to it to the beginning of it before they actually came back out and started.
Mhm.
So like I said, I know that's a little bit grandiose, but this is my show. All right. So what about your next one?
My second one is one that I know they do, and not everyone wants to hear it, but that's okay. I would only want to hear it as an encore. I don't need to really hear it at all otherwise. But my second encore would be Rock and Roll All Night, but I want it to be a live rock
Hmm.
and roll all
Hmm.
night. So that would be
Yeah.
my second encore.
Right. It's funny that you went to a live for your second encore, because I went to uh, a song off of a live for that, but I know what you're talking about. You would want the live version of it, which I would want the live version of it too, because these are all would be live versions of the songs.
Right.
Um, but I went back to a song that was originally on Harder Than Hell that was performed on a live, and it was actually performed uh, as the closer of a live, where Rock and Roll Over wasn't actually the closer. But I love Let Me Go Rock and Roll. I love the live version of it. It's very short on Harder Than Hell, so I would like it to be that full whole, and the whole guitar solo. And I know some people think that song's very drawn out, and I think I've talked with Rob before about it, and he's like, I just don't get it. It's kind of drawn out and the solo, but I love Ace's solo in that. Gene, I could see them, like I said, they're in their live suits, and they're all up there, doing the way they do. But yeah, let me go rock and roll is my middle encore song. How you closing it out?
So I'm closing it out with a song that I'm actually not the biggest fan of. So this is just pure entertainment value for me. Um, Not my favorite song of theirs for sure. And in fact, whenever we do like a track versus track, I think I usually don't pick this song. I usually pick whatever it's up against for the most part. But I just think it would be amazing to hear live, and I think it would be an amazing close to the concert. So for me, my last pick is going to be Black Diamond.
Mhm.
And I just think it'd be so cool for them to be playing it. And then as the end, when it just gets that drawn out, and it gets softer and softer, like the lights, they start killing some of the lights and,
Mhm.
a little bit here and there. And I just think that would be so cool. And then, like, that's it. The band's just gone. And I just think that'd be such an awesome way to close out the concert. So for me, my final song is Black Diamond.
Well, for me, my final song is a song that I always thought should be the closer. It just always seems to me that it's a closer type song, even above Rock and Roll All Night and a party. I know they like to live to close their songs with party songs, but to close their albums with or their shows with party songs. But to me, go all the way back to the debut, and I want to close my show with the a live version, but it comes off. But I'm picking it off the debut. But they would perform it the way they did on a live. My closer of the encore for the show would be Black Diamond.
Hey!
You said when you said that, I was like, oh.
See, mine would be the debut album version, but
Yeah,
how cool is that?
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like how you. That would be when it starts slowing down and the tape starts slowing down. They start slowing down, and it's like the lights just kind of go down. That
Yeah.
would be kind of cool too. That would be very unique. So I tell you what, that is awesome. I would like to know if you're watching along. What I'd like to know is what is your set list? You don't have any rules. You could pick demos. You could have them do an entire set of demos. You could go from "Don't You Hesitate" to whatever. You could have them perform an entire album front to back, whichever you wanted to. But just the only rules is 20 songs for your main set and 3 closers. And we did it that way because basically encores are a little different. Encores usually are kind of like their own little encapsulation in themselves. And so, but I'd like to know, interact down in the comments, what you think and what you thought about our lists. Don't shoot us up too bad. This is just what we would have liked to see. So if you think you got something better, put it down in the comments. But yeah, before we get out of here, I want to just say, be sure to check out the merch. Be sure to check out Rick's channel because he sent me these awesome things. And be sure to, if you've not liked or subscribed by now, what you waiting for? You can go ahead and like and subscribe to this video and hit the bell for notifications. And once again, thanks to my Patreons, Jeremy Kimona, John Steinheimer, and Rex Spencer. Getting tongue-tied. And once again, Carla, thank you so much for this idea. Me and you're already cooking up something else. Got something else cooking on the back burner.
Yeah.
So Carla will be back probably in about a month. We'll try to space it out to where we're the next thing we're working on is going to take us, we think, about 3 months to do total. Probably end up being about 3 episodes in all.
Yep.
So we'll have some fun with that. Then just keep coming back, and you'll eventually find out what it is.
Yeah. And I want to say,
go
I want to
ahead.
say thank you to you because, like I said in the last video, you're kind of the straw that stirs the drink with all of us. We all kind of met and get to mingle through you and your channel and your videos. So huge thank you to you for everything you do, or you
I appreciate that so much.
for everything you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much. Sometimes I'm downstairs and I'm like, I need to go upstairs and make a video. Do I want to sit here and do I want to go upstairs and make a video, or do I want to sit down here and keep watching the new series of Dexter? Which do I want to do? Because I really want to stay down here watching Dexter and Yellow Jackets just came back on, so I really want to watch that. But I really need to go upstairs and make a video. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you being in the video with me and continuing to be in videos and everything that we've done in the past. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. I knew that we had done Track versus Track was the series I couldn't remember that we had done earlier. But yeah, we've had a good time, and this was fun. That's what it's all about. It's just getting together and talking about Kiss and just having fun, talking about music in general, and just having fun on a Monday night after work.
Yeah.
And, so I do appreciate you. I appreciate everybody for watching and hanging out with us. Like I said, like, subscribe, interact down in the comments. Let us see your set list, and we will catch you in the next video sometime in the future. Miss Carla will be back.
Yes.
See you, everybody.
Bye.